So now I'm not just a banker, but I'm actually a customer of theirs. And so now we're at that point, we're building that relationship with them. I know their name, they know my name. And then shortly after that, then we kind of ease in. It's like, hey, like, what are some of the issues that you're having with your business? Or how can we help to increase your business?
Hola.
Hola. ¿Cómo
Boy,
estás?
boy, that's just, I got to really work on my accent there.
The hola?
The hola.
Oh, that's good.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Decent?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
Serviceable.
That's good.
Okay. All right. Well, Luke, try out a Spanish word. Word in Spanish.
Basura.
Which means,
Trash.
good job.
What you think about that?
One of the, that was great. The inflection was pretty
It's
good.
pretty good, yeah. On the right syllable.
The right syllable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the right syllable.
Trying to remember other ones.
I remember in Spanish 1, taking that in the 8th grade, I believe, 7th grade. It was very important that we know how to ask for the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that you got down pretty quickly. Puedo ir al baño?
That's correct.
That's right.
What is
May,
puedo?
may I use the
May
restroom?
I
Mm-hmm.
use?
May I?
May I?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
May I use or may I go to the restroom? So that one, I feel pretty confident that I could ask for the restroom in any country that is Spanish speaking.
It is.
What if Gus gave us a random word in Spanish, and we tried to guess what it was?
Okay.
All right, give us something random.
Atender.
Pay attention. Attention.
That's
That's
what I
one of
was
them.
gonna say. Maybe like flight attendant.
No.
No. I heard attendant.
Yeah. It means to attend.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Max was pretty close.
Yeah.
It could be used that way also.
That was so random.
You asked for a random word.
That's right.
Well, two more.
Okay.
Maybe 10 more. I love games.
Oh, let's see. It's an easy one. Micrófono.
Phone.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Oh,
Are you listening to the words?
I heard the end.
So halfway.
Yeah.
It's an easy one. Pantalones.
Pants.
Pants.
I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm 3 for 3.
Yeah, nice job.
Thank you.
And then, of course, televisión.
TV.
Halfway.
Television.
There you go.
Yeah. Can you say it right? Television.
Television.
Yeah.
No one calls it that.
You millennials shorten,
Tele.
or no, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Gen Z's shortening
That's
your
right.
words.
Don't disrespect me.
Instead of
Don't put me
TV,
in y'all's group.
instead of TV, we say tele.
Tele.
Mm-hmm. For television, we say tele.
There we go.
Isn't one of the big channels
Telemundo.
Telemundo?
Uh-huh.
What's Mundo?
World.
World TV.
Mm-hmm.
And they just show everything across the world.
Their network.
Network covers a lot.
Do you feel enlightened, Luke?
Yeah.
Good.
And there's what's the other network?
Univision.
Yeah, but that's not tele.
Mm-mm.
One Vision.
Univision. Yes.
Univision,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One Vision.
There you go.
Okay.
It's just based on their network because they're all over the U.S.
Oh. There
and
you
they
go.
cover a lot of the U.S. like the news and whatnot. They cover all over the U.S.
Gotcha.
Do you think we should probably introduce this mystery
Yeah.
person who's just giving us
Translation.
Spanish words?
It's just a random translator.
Yeah.
Yes. Gustavo.
Hola.
Tell us your name.
You want my English name or my Spanish name?
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my English name is Gus Reyes-Jacobo. And my Spanish name is Gustavo Reyes-Jacobo.
That is wildly different,
I like
But
I like the
the exact
second
same.
version.
right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
And your name tag says just Gus.
Gus. I've learned over the years that it's a lot easier to just go by Gus than Gustavo, because I've gotten several.
Gustavos?
I've gotten Gustavo.
Really?
Gustavo.
That's awful.
And even Reyes, it's like Reese.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I think after high school, I just went by Gus. So every time if I'm up and about and I hear my full name, somebody say Gustavo, I'm like, either you know me from high school or your family.
Really?
There you go.
Usually. I mean, I have some friends now that call me that, and those are very slim compared to
close friends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us what you do, who you are. Give us a little breakdown about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is it's Gus Reyes-Jacobo, and I am the Hispanic Community Officer here at Generations Bank. And a little bit about myself. I was actually born in Mexico, and I moved to the United States when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and did not know a lick of English. And so I actually had to repeat kindergarten because I didn't know English. And so I was put in ESL class, or ESOL, how it's known today. And so it's English as a second language, or English as an other language. And so did that during elementary school. And then I kind of became a teacher's aide, because that was during the time, we call it the Great Migration, essentially anywhere from like the early 90s. There's a lot of Latin countries that migrated to the United States. And so during that time, I was kind of the one who was helping the teacher, because Spanish was still fairly new in the schools. And so graduated from Rogers High School. And then I was actually the first person in my family to graduate from high school and attend and graduate college. So that was a huge accomplishment for us. And then started in the banking industry when I was started as a part-timer, and then my senior year in college. And then I just kind of transitioned into a full-time job, from frontline teller to electronic banking to loan assistant. And then from there, came over to Generations Bank and been here for almost 7 years or so, and started in loan operations, and then kind of transitioned into the role that I am now. So oldest of 4, and so I am the only sibling that was born outside of the U.S. All the other 3 siblings were born here in the United States. So that sometimes they give me a hard time if I don't know how to say a word. They always joke around. It's like, well, you were born there, you should know. I'm like, it's not the same.
Yeah. You didn't absorb all that through osmosis when you were there.
And you left out a big part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Razorback marching band.
Yes,
What instrument, and do you still got it?
I do. Somewhere in the closet, somewhere.
Trumpet?
No,
Trombone?
Flute,
Flute?
no, close.
clarinet.
Clarinet and saxophone.
I like Squidward,
Yes,
right? Wasn't he clarinet?
he is. Yes,
And you actually still have your instrument. You bring it out every now and then.
every now and then, just to kind of see if I can still play. But no, I focus more on drums nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about doing drums in college? Or I guess high school or whatever you
I
started
did.
learning?
So funny stories. So we were transitioning from like elementary school to middle school. They kind of do the test of like what instrument you would fit.
Right.
And on the list, it just said percussion. Me, I'm like, what the heck is percussion? I don't know what that is. I'm looking for drums.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, the next best thing, I guess, to me, because from where we're from, clarinet and saxophone, woodwinds in general are huge in bands and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, the next best thing can be clarinet. So I tried out for clarinet, and literally the teacher's like, yep, you're good. And then that was it. And then when I got into band in middle school, I'm like, they're playing drums? Where was that in the list? So I learned that percussion is the same thing as drums.
Oh, that's awful.
At that age.
But now you know how to do both.
I do.
And you never know when you might need to bust out a clarinet solo or something.
It might take a minute to get back to where I was, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So now you're here at the bank. How long have you been in this role?
I've been in this role for going about 4 years.
Okay.
And what can you describe the role?
Yes. So it's a very unique role because it's evolved just throughout the years since we started. It actually started in 2020 when John Harrell came in, which is our president CEO of the bank, and Max's dad. And he was like, I have a vision for just servicing and helping the Hispanic community, but I need somebody to tackle that. In my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. Good luck. I can refer you to some people and whatnot. It's like, I want you to do it. So I'm like, I don't know. This is something out of my comfort zone. Typically, may not believe it, but I'm a very introvert guy. And so this role requires a lot of extrovertness. And so, long story short, I went ahead and applied and had the interview and took on the job. But then that's when COVID hit. And so I wasn't able to really do anything outside of the community. So instead, I just kind of learned about the products and procedures that were within the bank. That way I could then talk to people about our products and stuff like that. And then from there, it just kind of took off to learning about the accounts and what we offer to the type of loans that we have, to business, business management, to IT. And then eventually that kind of transitioned into more of like a PR role. I see it because now going forward, I don't just do accounts. I translate documents within the bank. I help with our marketing team, and then I also help with our loan team, and as well as just kind of be a liaison between our financial institution and the Hispanic community, whatever that may look like. I've gone to schools, gone to chamber events, gone to several nonprofits, and just talked about financial literacy and educating them, as well as creating that business development and helping them, helping with their business or even just on a personal level, and help them with their personal accounts. So it's evolved a lot throughout the years, but that's essentially kind of what I do.
Is that pretty unique to the banking industry to have that type of role?
It's becoming more and more evolved, I guess you could say. I mean, I would say, in my opinion, in the last 3-4 years or so, it's kind of become a new trend because a lot of financial institutions have seen that need or that niche that really hasn't been touched. And so now they've kind of developed a team or an individual to kind of be that person to do that. And at first I thought I was kind of one of, a unique person to do this. But then the more I've got into the role, the more I've gotten into meeting different people within that field. The name might change a little bit, but essentially it's kind of still the same role within that general area.
Yeah. What you said that the Hispanic, population is untouched in the banking industry. Why do you think that is? What are some of the barriers to getting them into, some of our banking services where we can help?
From personal experience, this is just from my point of view, from our family. We have family in Mexico still, and so we also send money to them and for support, which means we also have to have an account in Mexico. And so I've learned that it's here in the US, it's a lot simple and a lot faster to get something taken care of, such as I want to open an account, or I want to change my name, I want to add another person to the account, something like that, or start my business. It's a lot faster and easier here versus in another Latin country. It may take days or sometimes even weeks or months to just get one simple thing done. And so that's a factor. But then also on the other end, there's been a lot of corruption within the government itself that has kind of diminished the trust of those people, especially in the financial institution, because they fear that if they put money into the bank, then they're not going to be able to get that money back. And so that's kind of where we come in and kind of re-educate them and also give them the assurance like, hey, you can put money here in the bank. If something were to happen to the bank, that's still your money. It's protected per FDIC or whatever that may be. But just kind of getting them to understand that there is that sense of trust here. It's kind of a challenging, but once you get that and you see it, it's very rewarding.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, obviously you've now, you understand the community specifically, or the culture community, or the culture specifically, because you've been a part of it, right? So what are ways that, as you kind of navigate all those different things and the things personally that you've had to I don't know, even potentially overcome about the banking industry specifically, how do you communicate and educate, and how does Generations Bank specifically support and help you do that?
I think one of the obstacles that we have that we've had to overcome in general is one, getting in front of the customer and just having a one-on-one conversation. Sometimes it doesn't just start of, hey, I'm with the bank, let me just talk to you about banking. It can be simply as like an owner of a food truck. I'm going to go to that food truck and I'm going to buy their food for several times, and then I become a familiar face. So now I'm not just a banker, but I'm actually a customer of theirs. And so now we're at that point, we're building that relationship with them. I know their name, they know my name. And then shortly after that, then we kind of ease in and it's like, hey, like, what are some of the issues that you're having with your business, or how can we help to increase your business? And that's kind of where that banking knowledge comes into play after you've kind of established that relationship. Because I've learned, because of the trust issue that most Hispanics have with financial institutions, they will immediately just shut you down if you go and visit and just cold call and I tell them, hey, I'm with the bank. What can we do? They might give you a surface answer, but they're just like, cool. And so, but once you build that relationship, then you can they start talking about them. And then at that point, like I said, they will kind of let you in and tell you about the issues and whatnot. And so for me, here at Generations Bank, I've had to learn of how to approach those. I've had to learn about the needs, not just from a personal level, but from a level overall, for different industries. And so here at Generations Bank, they've supported me with just one, being able to provide type of account brochures in Spanish, because not everybody speaks English. And so if I'm out and about and telling them about the services, it's good to have something there for them so they can read and they can kind of keep in mind later. And if they have any questions, then they can follow back. And so that's been one thing. Another thing is just being able to be out in the community in general, that they've been able to have my back on, for brand awareness and things like that. So just being out in the community in general and kind of showing the community, it's like, hey, we're here. Like, we're actually want to be here. We're not just we don't just want your business, but we actually want to invest in you guys.
Yeah. And you've been able to do that through a variety of different of your participation and the bank's participation in a variety of different events. Can you just name a couple of those specifically that have been, you think, pretty impactful to not only you but the community that you're serving there?
Sure. Some of the programs that our bank's been involved with is just stuff through the chamber, the Rogersville Chamber. I mean, just chambers in general. Sometimes they will host different events or even different workshops specifically for the Hispanic community in Spanish, whether it be like how to start up your business and stuff like that. So being a part of the chambers has allowed me to kind of they have allowed to open the doors so that we can get in and educate them. Another thing would be, since we're about to be full swing here next few days, is like we have the Hispanic Heritage Festival in Salem Springs. And then we have the Day of the Dead Festival in Springdale in November. And then we call it El Grito, which means the victory yell, in Springdale, which is Mexico's Independence Day celebration. And then we have the NWA Showcase here in Rogers. And so all of those just kind of help bring one, a brand awareness, but also at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, like you are there, you're showing that community, like, hey, we're here, we want to invest in you. And then, of course, there's different organizations like Latin XNA who have cohorts and they bring in professionals have kind of pioneered their way in the Hispanic community to be like CEOs of major companies. And then just they talk to different people and kind of show them like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. And so that organization itself has kind of been very good to kind of show the, especially the younger generations, like, hey, you can achieve, be CEO or president of a company or even your own company if you really put the time and effort in doing so. So they're just kind of a few examples that we've kind of been a part of.
Coming up very soon, Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
What goes on during Hispanic Heritage Month, and why does it start in the middle of a month?
That's a good question. So typically when people think of just some type of Heritage Month, they think of the very beginning of the month to the end of the month. Versus Hispanic Heritage Month is very unique because it starts on the middle of the month and then goes over to the next month and ends in the middle of the month as well. And so the reason behind that is because September 15th starts the Independence Day of several Latin countries. And so, and then September 16th also rolls into like Mexico's Independence Day. So you got like Costa Rica, Guatemala, El Salvador, all of them, they celebrate Independence Day on September 15th. And so that just kind of trickled into starting on September 15th and going there because as you go into the month, a lot of several Latin countries have gotten their independence during that time. And so I actually had to do a little bit of research, but I learned that in 1968, President Lyndon Johnson declared it National Hispanic Heritage Week. And then 20 years later, President Ronald Reagan changed that from a week to the month, which is where we get from September 15th through October 15th.
Got it. So it's connecting it's the time in between the two Independence Days, basically.
Mm-hmm. Independence Days in general of the Latin countries. That range anywhere from Mexico, Central America, all the way to the Caribbean.
Huh.
So it sounds like that looks like a lot of festivals here
Yes.
during that time frame.
Yes.
But why do you think it's important that month be celebrated like it has come to be?
Part of it, what started out in general, is just acknowledging the impact that a lot of Hispanics have brought into the United States, whether that be food, music, sports, art, stuff like that. So during that time, that's just a good time to just acknowledge the impact that the culture has brought onto the United States. Usually that's the main reason, but also at the same time, it's also a good time to kind of educate people about the Hispanic culture. Because typically when people think Cinco de Mayo or, May 5th, they automatically think, oh, that's Mexico's Independence Day. But in reality, that's not. That's actually the Battle of Puebla, which is a state in Mexico with the French. But in reality, Mexico's Independence Day, like we said, was September 16th. So just, using that time to kind of to educate people about just the Hispanic culture in general. That way, just, they don't assume that's what it is. That Independence Day is really May 5th.
Which one do you feel like is a larger celebration? Because Cinco de Mayo that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's a bigger celebration or the actual Independence Day?
In the United States, yeah. In the United States, in my opinion, Cinco de Mayo is celebrated more. But like I said, Puebla is the only state that celebrates Cinco de Mayo in Mexico.
Wow.
The rest of the state doesn't. I mean, they know that's the day,
Yeah.
but it's not a big festival like it is in the United States.
Yeah.
Versus September 16th, obviously that's Mexico's Independence Day. That's our version of 4th of July. So obviously there's a lot of parties and fireworks and stuff, parades and stuff like that happening on that day. So it's kind of, Cinco de Mayo has kind of become more of like an American holiday in the sense of celebration
Yeah.
versus September 16th being the true Independence Day for Mexico.
It's interesting. No, it's not something that I knew.
Well, how do you feel like we as individuals or the bank, just people in Northwest Arkansas, can contribute and celebrate during Hispanic Heritage Month?
It's a good question. Typically, I would say just educating yourselves on, the real meaning behind Hispanic Heritage Month. Like I said, it's a time to acknowledge the culture, the traditions, the food, and even the pioneers that have made made a way to people like myself and my siblings to achieve our dreams. Those who had it a little harder when they came to the United States. So things like that. And then don't wear a sombrero.
Don't.
The stereotypical things. It's like the mustache and whatnot.
So a lot of opportunity to celebrate, a lot of opportunity to be a part of different events that you mentioned going on throughout the month. And so a lot of those, I think you mentioned throughout Northwest Arkansas are going to be pretty prevalent, right? And I assume that's pretty much the case throughout the U.S. this month. Okay. So some real hard-hitting questions here to end this and wrap this up. One, when you hear the word football, what do you think?
It depends on the emphasis.
Football. Just football.
If you say football or football.
Okay.
Which one?
I mean,
I've only ever heard Max say football.
I think I personally could probably only say it one way.
Well, if I think of football in general, I think of American football.
Okay.
But if you say football, that's soccer.
What are you a bigger fan of? Because you grew up here.
Oh, gosh.
You went to many, many awesome SEC football games in the
I
band.
did. I mean, just from my experience, I'm going to have to say American football.
Yeah.
I can watch soccer, football.
Thank you for translating.
On TV or even just in person. But I personally like American football.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Just the sheer experience. And I think it's because of like the involvement of my family has been in the past. Obviously, it was me being in band all through college, going to games, and then my brother being a football player.
Yeah.
And and then my sister being on the pom squad or dance team. So that was also a factor. The only one that was kind of the different was the baby. And he's the one who's I lied. He played football one season, American football, but he didn't like it. So he never played it again. He's more of a soccer guy. He's the soccer guy of our family.
Okay.
It's good to know. And if you're out and about at any of these events or these festivals going on throughout the month, what food should you make sure that you try or that you taste?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'm going to give you a few, and they're based on different
Go for it.
Cultures. Number one, I got to be true to heart, but you got to have a taco, authentic taco,
Right.
or how we refer to it here in the U.S., a street taco.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do we call it a street taco?
I think it's because like a lot of food trucks are just kind of out and about in the streets.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where that kind of originated, in my opinion.
Most of your sit-down places don't have the same. It's more Tex-Mex at a sit-down place.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are now several places that you can sit down and eat. That's one of like the cool experiences when I go back to Mexico is like as soon as we go into town, you immediately see lines of food trucks.
Really?
Yeah. And then they have like it's almost like a little bar that comes out of the food truck. And then you just have stools around the truck. And then you
that's
just
smart.
kind of sit there and you watch them almost like a walk, like we're like a hibachi. They just cook it right there. And then you just get your plate and
Oh, nice.
you can just smell it as soon as you walk in there.
Hot and fresh.
Is the taco shell offered in Mexico? Or is that an American thing?
The hard
I think
shell?
it's an American
The hard
thing.
shell. Because street tacos, aka true tacos, is just kind of the smaller tortilla, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes double tortilla.
Traditionally, I mean, it varies on like who's making it, but
Okay.
traditionally it's served on a corn tortilla.
Right.
The reason behind they do the double tortilla is because sometimes the first tortilla will break because
Yeah,
of
we don't want that.
yes, which is why they do the second layer. That way you're not eating it and then it just crumbles
And
on there.
what is the best ingredients to go into a authentic taco?
You first got to have your choice of meat. Typically, the traditional ones are usually like carne asada, which is steak. Some do chicken, pork, which is like al pastor or carnitas, which is shredded pork. And then you have your onions, cilantro, your lime juice, and then your salsa.
No rice?
No rice,
Oh.
no cheese either.
Oh.
I do like cheese on a taco. But we've gotten some good street tacos in Rogers, and I'm trying to think. I think we had like pork rinds too to start. We had some kind of
Chicharrones.
Chicharrones.
Mm-hmm.
those were good.
Those are good. They're good with salsa.
Yes.
Okay.
They're very good.
So tacos.
Tacos. The second one would be pupusas. They're from El Salvador.
Yes.
It's like if you don't know what that is, it's almost like a Salvadorians. Please don't come after me if I say this wrong. To me, it's almost like a quesadilla, but it's like I've seen them make it. But essentially, they have all the ingredients in the dough or the masa, and then they just kind of put the ingredients inside of a ball, and then they just kind of flatten it out, and then they put it on a skillet. And you can do like beans, cheese, like shredded pork, etc. on there, and then it just cooks it on both sides, and then it's very thin, or depending on where it is, and then they put it on a side of I've heard it called cortido, which is it's almost like a coleslaw version of it. It's a little spicy, very vinegary, on there, and then you put your salsa, your hot sauce on it. I've learned, for me, like I typically just use a fork and I eat it. But then when I've noticed Salvadorians, they eat it just by their hands. They don't use a fork, which I thought was interesting.
Finger food.
I think you can taste things better when you eat with your hands.
That can't be right.
I can see that.
How does that make sense?
It's it's a sense. 5 senses. You're using more than just smell and taste. You'd be using touch.
The texture.
But taste is one. You use smell to taste things? You taste things with your nose?
Well, you're going to smell it. That's going to be part of it, too. It's going to smell good. Then you taste it.
Okay.
And then touch.
You'll see it, too. Then you can put it up to your ear and you could hear it. That's, I guess.
Okay.
You do that.
We're not
logic.
going
With the pork
anywhere
rind, with the
there.
pork, with the chicharrones, you can do that.
You
Like
definitely
if
can
you
hear
add
it.
some salsa on there, you can definitely hear it sizzle.
Ooh.
Okay.
If you're wanting a sensory thing.
All 5 senses.
Now that we're all just salivating over here, you'll be out at several of these events coming
Yes.
up over the next month, and as well as other members from Generations Bank. So that's super exciting. So in the vein of eating good food, how much weight do you expect to gain over the next month?
Oh my gosh.
Is this like holiday season? Like,
That's prepping you for holiday season. Holiday
Oh,
season's
boy.
it's like December.
oh, okay.
One of the big traditions that we have in my family is like during like December to January, my mom makes these things called buñuelos, which are, imagine a sopapilla with like sugar and cinnamon, except it's a when you buy it at the store, it's like a half cooked tortilla. It's in the refrigerator section. And then you let them air out for like an hour or so, that we get them nice and crispy when you fry them. And then you just, like I said, you fry them, and then you have your mixture of sugar and cinnamon, and you just put them on there. And then when they're ready to eat, you just eat them. They're flaky. Some people go above and beyond and they add a little bit of honey glaze or a scoop of ice cream. And that's the only time my mom will make them. It's between December and January. After that, you can't get them.
They're a delicacy.
They're addicting. They're addicting. And tamales, that's the third, tamales.
Oh, for this month.
Yes, you got to have some good tamales. In general,
okay.
Got to have a good tamale. Chicken preferably.
Noted. Well, I'm hungry enough to go eat lunch. So
And it's 10 in the morning.
No, guys, thanks so much for hopping on and being able to not only just share about your own personal story, but how what the impact that you've been able to have here with Generations Bank on the Hispanic community, and also the exciting events and adventures that are coming with the Hispanic Heritage Month. So we really appreciate it, and it was great to hear from you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
We'll need some recipes from you or your mother.
That's one thing I've been trying to get my mom to do. It's to write down the dang recipes.
Oh, those are the best ones.
They're all up in her head. It's one of those things like, if you want to learn, you have to be in the kitchen and just watch it. Like,
we'll make it happen.
So,
all right.
Thanks, man.
Thank
thank you.